Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. I'm looking at the public.
A lot of public.
It doesn't look like too rowdy a bunch, so I will avoid reading the rules of procedure tonight. Are there additions to the agenda?
Let's see, I have some correspondence.
Correspondence. Well, it's under communications.
Oh, I guess it's under communications.
Okay. Are there changes to the agenda order?
Not for me.
Not from me.
None.
So I would ask if everybody's had a chance to review the minutes of the meeting of August 12th. If somebody would
I move that we
to
accept the minutes.
approve
And I will
the
second
minutes
that.
of the meeting of August 12th. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Dan Zambreski, you walked in just in time.
Hello,
Hi.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Highway update.
just grading the roads, doing culverts and mowing roadsides.
And very few equipment repairs this.
Nope, been easy on the equipment. Our new man started today, so,
Oh, is the garage a lot noisier?
yeah, he kept everybody laughing.
Purchasing sand and gravel.
Pardon?
Purchasing sand and gravel.
Yep, we've been hauling some sand, gravel for culverts.
The person who is mowing the Packer Corners Road, you know, is very genial and he's doing an exceedingly thorough job.
Yeah, Jimmy's doing a good job. Yep.
Yeah,
He does do a good job.
he's great.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, any questions for Dan? So the road safety audit report, Peter did a lot of work last week, 2 weeks, last couple of weeks, and you're going to update us on what's been going on. So this is for both Guilford Center and Algiers Village. I got my full-time note.
Okay, there's a few new updates on here.
Okay.
All right, so for Algiers Village, I'll just try and go through these as quickly as possible. There's a request for the review of speed limits on US Route 5. We needed to send a letter to the V-Trans Traffic Committee Coordinator. That was sent.
Excuse me, let me just ask, did you ask them to bring it down to 30 miles an hour?
That's correct.
Okay.
So the current speed through the village is 35 miles an hour. Due to a variety of the findings from the report as well as from requests of residents, we are requesting them to reduce the speed. It had initially been asked to reduce it to 25 miles an hour, and during the review they flat out said that due to the nature of that road that they would not reduce it to 25. So we're requesting it to be reduced to 30. Then there's, I sent a multi-part letter to our local District 2 office requesting them to take action on a number of things. Those items included cutting brush as necessary along the eastbound shoulder, cross-hatching the shoulder and installing no parking stencils within the existing no parking zone next to the country store on US 5. Consider adding curbing to better define the access and egress to the country store. Review signage and tighten the existing pedestrian zone. Some may argue there is no pedestrian zone there, but we're kind of waiting to hear back from them. As well as either cut the brush around the stop sign or to completely move the location of the stop sign at B Barn Road. And then to consider the westbound shoulder, basically next to Richmond Auto, and making that into a no parking zone similar to in front of the country store. So that was all included in the letter to V-Trans.
Which went?
It was sent, yes, last week, beginning of last week. I actually got a call this late afternoon from Mark Pickering. He received the letter, and not everything, there was a little bit of miscommunication within V-Trans, and so not everything we were told on this list goes to him, so he's actually on our behalf forwarding the letter to the appropriate person.
So, sorry, one question about, we had consider curbing to better define access to the country store to send something to Friends of Algiers Village.
Yes, so there is actually I was going to talk about that next. There's one of the other items on there For those of you who are familiar with the country store, know that their open flag sticks out into the right-of-way in the road. And one of the suggestions from V-Trans was to request them to change the location of that, and as well as the curbing. And so I'll be sending a letter to actually the Friends of Algiers Village, since they're the owners of the building, to consider moving the flag and installing a second one on the south side of the building so that folks can, from either direction, can see that the business is open, but not have obstructions in the line of sight along the roadway.
That's Chuck's idea.
So, well, they listened to you, Chuck, and they made that as one of the recommendations. Then moving on to Guilford Center Village, which for the select board is on the other side. Most of the recommendations that they made regarding Guilford Center Village were all action points for the town to take, with a couple of minor exceptions. Earlier this spring, the town had signed an agreement with V-Trans in which they are coming through, starting in the Greenland Bends, and they're going to be replacing a number of outdated signs for us. And they actually offered, without us asking, if we wanted to include changes to signage in Guilford Center Village as part of that package. Obviously, it seems really silly if they're paying for the replacement and installation of the signs, why we would say no. And so we said yes, and they happily accepted. The one caveat to that is that project won't be completed until next spring. So the signs that we were responsible for here in the village, Dan and his crew have already taken care of those. So it's replacing a couple of speed limit signs as the select board reduced the speed limit to 35 miles approaching either end of the village, and then to 25 miles an hour within the village. Dan has also replaced a couple of stop signs, and what was the other sign you guys replaced?
25.
Oh, you're gonna replace the one right here on School Road.
Finally came Friday, so.
Okay. So the other thing that we did is we looked into installing Welcome to Guilford Center Village signs, which Dan and I looked at and placed an order for last week, because there was only $90 per sign for the one that we chose. And so you have one on the north and the south side of the village to help kind of get people's attention that you're entering a village, and they should slow down in addition to the numerous other signs. So yeah, so that, I'm not going to read through the entire list, it's very long.
Great.
And we have it here.
And you have it.
So
Any questions about those items? There's one thing I forgot to mention. The only thing that has not been started as of yet is they recommended that we, being the town, work with Wyndham Regional Commission to undertake a pedestrian facility study. That's one thing that I need to work with them on doing, and that involves writing a grant to the state. So that's more of what is deemed a midterm project, which is a 1 to 3 years completion date. All these others were short-term projects, which is less than a year, and we'll have most of them completed very soon.
Oh, I have a question, Peter. In terms of this pedestrian facility study with WRC, is that something that we want to do in Algiers as well?
Yes, we have, it was recommended for both locations.
Oh, I mean, is that on here and I missed
It
it?
is towards the bottom right here.
Oh, thank you so much.
could we use the Better Connections grant for that study?
I guess theoretically, yes. We don't need to, because the state has a round of grants that are specifically for
Then
pedestrians.
we would,
We will apply for it.
okay,
And WRC will assist us with that application, because
okay.
it's not the easiest application to go through. So-
Yeah.
And they've done it with numerous other towns in Wyndham County, and so they know what they're doing. So it's just a matter of reaching out to them and scheduling time to start working on it.
Great. So I have one comment and one suggestion. Dan, thank you so much for acting on that so quickly. That was awesome. And my suggestion is that you track this spreadsheet on a quarterly basis, just to see, or maybe next spring, because they probably won't do anything in the winter, just to follow up, and then also to check with residents and maybe the people who are at the public hearing in June, was it? May?
May. No, it was June 13th.
The one in the village, Elder's Village? Whenever we had the thing at the church, just to check in and see if people feel like things have made a difference. So that would be my recommendation to the select board. And I also think we need to sign the revised traffic ordinance at this point. It just makes sense to do that.
You guys adopted this at the last meeting, and we just need your signature. And
Highway ordinance, right?
I have a
no, it's a
question.
traffic ordinance.
Is it the traffic
It is a
ordinance?
traffic
Okay.
ordinance.
Yes,
Does anyone know why it's called the pedestrian facility study? Do they referring to facility as making it easy for pedestrians?
That's my understanding, but I don't know for sure.
It's an odd,
I agree with you, it was odd to me too.
but facility does mean ease and making things easy, so I.
Well, it has two meanings, you know.
Well,
as
I
if
wouldn't
it's-
disagree with you. What's the second, I mean,
Well, a facility is a thing.
right, but I don't think that that's what they mean.
No, I don't think that's what they mean.
while we are signing, I will invite probably Jethro
Yes.
to start us on the planning commission update,
Thank you, Peter.
and to say I'm sorry that Michelle couldn't be here tonight.
Peter was very helpful. Sure.
How about if you sit next to Michael, Jethro?
All right.
Your commission members can also participate and see you.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, welcome planning commissioners.
I'd like to start by saying, I'd like to say that Sheila has been a great civic leader, and I'm saddened that this is her last day, but hopefully she'll keep supporting us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we've been plugging away at the town plan, which we were under the impression that it was going to be postponed to the following year. We weren't really prepared. There was a little bit of confusion as that we were going to have to do. We ended up having to do it this year, and so we've been plugging along at that, and now that it's going to be an 8 years, right?
So you have an existing town plan that runs from 2015 to 2020.
Yeah.
And by June of 2020, you need to have a new 8-year plan. The state has
Right.
changed it to 8 years.
Yeah.
Right.
From originally 5 years.
5 years,
right?
yeah.
Which is a long time to have put the foresight to that, as we look at it, to think, whoa, something that's going to be in writing that's going to be for 8 years that we're going to be following. So thankfully the last update was pretty thorough, so it's been pretty good to go through, and we've just been updating it as we go. And yeah, we started in doing that. We've also put we've been working on the Guilford handbook. That's kind of been set aside a little bit now that we've been focusing more on really trying to get the town plan situated. But we really would like when we have the time to really focus on that too.
And the handbook, Jethro, is a Welcome to Guilford handbook?
Yes.
Or a handbook for Guilford residents, including Welcome to Guilford?
I think it would be both. We've been referencing the Dummerston. They did a welcome kind of general handbook for their town many years ago, and we've kind of taken that and we've been kind of using that as kind of a reference, and it's really nice. And I think it would be really something that would be really great for Guilford to have. and something that could be updated, but for the most part, it's something that was kind of basic and that would, as new residents come, or even residents that aren't fully aware of what Guilford has to offer, could look at that. And yeah, I mean, it's for me, because I wasn't on the commission for the last town plan, so it's been very informative to look through and be a part of.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I was
It's like-
talking to Jethro today. It's a lot of work to do the town plan because you need to think about everything from residents and environment and conservation and the economy and try to anticipate what the next 8 to 10 years are going to look like and how the town might face issues that could come up.
Right, exactly.
And the terminology that you use and the policies and the actions that you come up with will determine how the state might assess individuals' claims or
Yeah.
developers' claims. So thinking very carefully about how the town wants to take care of its residents, take care of its financial assets, attract people here, take care of all of its assets, not just the financial assets, and also respond to development of possibilities and growth possibilities is really critical.
Right.
And it's a big task, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, by June of 2020, you have to have had the plan, put it out there to the Wyndham Regional Commission, had it out in the public for 45 days, and have a public hearing before the select board makes a decision about adopting it or not. So it's a pretty long, complex, involved
And we're really
project.
hoping,
And-
I was talking with Michelle, and we're really hoping to have something by March, by like town meeting, that's something that we can present to the public, so, because, you know, hopefully there won't be a lot of revisions, but at least that'll give us time
Yeah.
where the public can review it, and then we can kind of go through it, so that's our goal right now. Does anyone else?
Well, you're lucky to have Chuck and Harry, who've done this many times.
No, it's great to have such a big board, and, you know, we have a lot of input, and it's a big process, but it's part of it, and it's in a way to protect us too, you know, because we don't have zoning, and so it's something they give, you know, that can be a reference as people are looking at what we would like to see happen and how we see our town. And,
Any questions?
I have, sort of a question and comment. I mean, one of the interesting things, as I understand it, about the Planning Commission is that it's a quite diverse board in terms of where people are coming from, and so it's really interesting to balance what we think might happen and what we want to have happen. And, you know, I don't know that there's time in this particular meeting to find out how you all consider that, but it is something I'm curious about, if you understand my question.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it is, you know, I think it's helpful, and I think it's, you know, helpful for a group to have people from, you know, coming from different angles with different ideas, and us being able to meet and put something like this together. Challenging, but it's good.
So you said by March you'll have something, the 5-year plan to...
This is going to be an 8-year plan.
The 8-year plan,
Yeah.
that's the, right.
So we're hoping to have it by
And
March.
we'll go to 28,
28?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, apropos what Veranda just said, I just remembered that I'm the liaison to the Planning Commission, and I will no longer be on the Select Board. So perhaps one of you would like to volunteer or wait until we appoint a new member and decide who. That needs to be
Yes.
decided pretty soon, probably at the
Indeed.
next meeting. But it's a good way for the Select Board and the Planning Commission to interact, is to have this liaison.
Yeah, and it's very important, I feel like, to have us being, you know, I think it's nice to get updated and for us to be well connected.
And then I have two other comments. One is that at the end of the 2015-2020 planning process, Michelle and I created a spreadsheet with who's supposed to be doing what in this plan, which is a lot of different things. And I think that it would be good for the Planning Commission to review that spreadsheet 5 years later and see what still needs to be done and what's been done and what has worked and what hasn't worked. Because I think it might help you focus in on important areas for the next plan.
And is that something, so is that a spreadsheet that you have?
It's readily, it's in
Yeah.
the Planning Commission's
Alright,
drive.
gotcha.
And I probably have a copy of it as well, but I'm sure that Thayer and Michelle do. And the other thing is, one of the things that we had hoped would happen tonight is that we would have a discussion facilitated by Wyndham Regional Commission on potential growth in this area, not just in Guilford. That would be a joint Planning Commission and Select Board meeting, but Chris Campany is not available, and that discussion, if you all decide to have it, is probably going to have to take place in October. He's just
Alright.
swamped with other things going on, but I strongly recommend that conversation be had.
Great, thank you.
And so that conversation could be part of a regular select board meeting.
I think we had planned to have a joint
Yeah.
Planning Commission Select Board meeting tonight, and then Chris
Right.
just got overwhelmed by everything going on.
It would be very helpful for us, not that you guys don't have a lot to do, but if maybe that could still be on a select board night,
Yeah,
and we could make that work in October, if you guys can set that up for them.
and you all have had the document that Chris and I wrote about that, so
Yeah.
the Planning
Which is
Commission
very
and Select
helpful.
Board.
How
Okay.
do we make sure that happens? Peter,
I'll follow up on it.
It's on the,
I already am aware of it.
it's actually on a future agenda
Correct.
topic in the
Right.
spreadsheet, so.
Yeah, I'm already working on it.
Thank you, Peter.
So Steve, and I was going to say, any other comments about the
Jeff,
plan?
at all, what's your plan for getting the word out to the community that the town plan is being worked on? The reason I ask is that sometimes what happens is you bring the new baby in and everybody forgets about the one that's already grown up. And I think the issue that happens is that it would be a good idea to tell people that the new town plan is being worked on, and that within reason it's being based on a lot of the language that's in the 2015 plan.
Right.
Because I think there are a lot of people, over the last year, there were some references to the town plan, and certain individuals and wide ranges of people hadn't really read it or seen it or anything else. So I would say it would be a good idea to try to get as much word out that it would be good for people to take a look at the existing town plan online on the town website, or pick up a copy here, because it'll make them so much more informed about things they like or don't like about the old one, so that they're prepared to discuss the new one.
And then that's a good point too, where we don't, even though we'll have some time if we announce it in March, it's still, the sooner people are aware of it, and then, and so it's a good point, so.
Well, and Steve's point may also pertain back to the fact that you may get people more engaged in your planning meetings when
Yeah.
you're discussing this issue, and I think that's a great idea. I think it's really important to incorporate as many voices from the outside of the, not that the Planning Commission doesn't have enough voices, but if there are people who are passionate about the town plan and the direction of Guilford, it would be good to kind of hear those thoughts earlier.
The other thing is that people may not be passionate about a town plan, but they're passionate about conservation, they're
Right.
passionate about
Pieces
energy,
of it.
or they're passionate about a portion of it. And
Right.
that, they don't have to read the whole thing to find the things that they're interested in. So that's the thing I would encourage them to do, is to review it and find those segments that they're interested in, and get their voices heard.
Maybe there could be an article in the Guilford Gazette.
Might be a little late. It's August? No.
When's the next one come up?
October.
Oh, let's see.
October, November.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Well, maybe
And then-
I could post stuff, I could
You
post
can post
stuff,
stuff on Guilford,
Yeah.
Vermont, and the town, and the town has a website and stuff like
but.
that.
And remember,
because that's a good
No,
idea.
how good we are at trying to communicate, this is coming up, you're gonna have people say that.
Well, key words too.
All you
maybe.
can do is try, so.
Right. All
And the
right.
other thing is to remember, like, in the current town plan, we spent a lot of time working with the Conservation Commission. And as long as you have people aware of the sections that they're really involved with, like the Conservation Commission,
Yeah.
then you give them that to review and they'll
Yeah.
bring it to you. You don't have to do that, so.
Right.
Perhaps a Guilford Gazette article could just be a reader's guide to the town plan. You know, just sort of breaking it down a little bit so that it will be a bit more user-friendly than...
Or it could be a good opportunity, I mean, you know, some people might not even know it exists. So, I mean, it could be
That's true.
Could just be
Where
a
they
good
can find
opportunity.
it.
Yeah, be a good opportunity just to make it known.
Okay.
And one last thing,
Oh.
not to make a million copies of a big document, but just saying it's on the website isn't enough either. There has to be printed copies, enough printed copies.
Which we have a ton here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just so that somebody could
Right.
pick one up here or maybe put a copy in the country store or something for people to glance at while they're having lunch. Just make it more of a working document than something that is done and then goes on the shelf.
Thank you, Jethro. Thank
Yeah.
you, everybody. The next item on the agenda is that we need to appoint a new select board member. I announced that I will resign. I announced in July that I'm resigning. And we went to Facebook, Front Porch Forum, website, Gazette, and also announced on
Here.
during meetings that the process would be for, if anybody was interested in filling the vacancy, to submit a letter of interest, and please call me if they have any questions, or Peter, and to come to meetings. And we had 2 people express interest in writing, one of whom withdrew rather recently, and we had one person express an interest verbally who got the same response from Peter and me that the other 2 potential candidates expressed. So we've involved the select board, and appreciate Steve Lemke and Ann Ryder's involvement in this process as well. And we still have standing one volunteer to fill this position, which would be through February of 2021, and that is Zon Estes. So I will be seeking a motion
I
to
so moved.
Second.
appoint Zon Estes as our new select board member to fill out my term. You second that? Any discussion?
I think he's very experienced, knowledgeable, and public-spirited person, and I think we're very lucky that he's chosen to come forward.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do too. Good point. It's great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And
So
I-
he will take my position at the first meeting in September, which is
The 9th.
September 9th. Jethro?
So he will be taking over chair?
No,
No.
so at the next meeting, the newly comprised select board will select a new chair.
New chair.
Gotcha.
And vice chair.
And vice chair.
And vice chair,
So,
yeah.
yes, sir.
And Peter,
And
will
until
you-
then, you are the vice chair, and
So you are.
you serve in my capacity.
I'm honored.
And just to note,
Will you, just to follow up, you will write Zon, who's going to write Zon?
I will write a letter on behalf of the select board notifying him. And then also just as a quick note, the select board in March of this year had appointed him as an auditor for the town. And with his new appointment, per statute, those 2 rules are a conflict of interest. And so you as a select board will need to find another auditor.
Somebody else volunteered,
Yes, she did.
so maybe.
We can follow up with her and
with that,
see
yeah.
if she is still interested.
So will the minutes reflect that discussion just now?
Sure.
That we need to
Thank
find
you.
an auditor?
And Peter, will you also, is it appropriate to send a message to the person who verbally expressed interest but didn't follow through, or should we let well enough alone?
I think we did. I mean, I said thank you for your interest.
Oh,
Here's the
so
process.
that's done.
And with the person who withdrew, I said thank you for your interest. We're sorry that you, so it was, we sort of covered it. Steve?
The process was announced clearly going into this. How will the decision and the new member be announced to the public? I mean, we do front porch forum, or, I
We
mean,
can do that. Yeah, I mean, it's on the agenda, it's on the meeting minutes, and
I think
it'll be
it,
obvious next meeting.
yeah, my suggestion would be, since there were certain procedures to get the process in place, it would be good to follow that same, to say the process was completed and this is the new person.
Well, that's what this meeting is
Exit
doing.
my meeting minutes, my notes for the meeting, and just send that out to people. Okay. Thank you. Old business, town office water filtration. We got a sulfur problem. We asked Gary Line for a quote. It's in the folder, if people have seen it.
So just to be clear, this is in addition to the original quote that you were presented with a couple of months ago. So this quote was only for the plumbing work. The reason, so
For the backwash period.
that for the backwash. that
No
is
more
correct.
than $1,000.
Yeah,
So the
so,
backwash part of the new process, right?
and it's not to exceed $1,000, that's because
Right.
he has an idea in
Right.
which he believes will only cost several hundred,
Right.
and if it will work, the thing that he doesn't know is he needs to actually cut a hole in the wall to see if it is feasible before he can say whether or not it is feasible.
I trust Gary to do that, so that's great. Do we need?
You need a,
official- I'll make a
a motion
motion to,
Authorize him to proceed with the remedial actions at a cost not to exceed
I
$1,000.
will second.
well done.
So how is the disagreeable smell?
It's getting worse every day. It's horrendous.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
And what about a motion to approve the filtration and water
I thought we
softening?
did that, we didn't do that?
You didn't include that in the documents for the meeting.
I didn't, no.
So what would you remind us what that quote was for, please?
Sure. Give me just a brief moment.
So this, excuse me, so the sulfur issue, that's been going on for a while, or?
Since the new well was drilled
Which
last
was,
summer.
really?
Yeah.
And not that the old well was perfect. There were
No.
other issues with the old
Yeah.
well. The sulfur was not one of them, I guess. But I know that the town employees would not drink out of the old one either.
Didn't we have a discussion of this previous
Yes,
quote?
we did, but
Yeah.
I don't.
But I guess we
I don't
thought-
remember.
I thought
I guess, I don't know whether we voted on it or not.
You
so.
did not, you wanted follow-up, and we have been trying to track down a plumber to get in and give us a quote, and
Has the water been tested here?
Yeah.
yes, 3 times,
How about lead levels? Is it,
non-existent.
is that the same with the school? Has the school been, do you know?
And that's their responsibility.
Yeah, no.
Here it is. All right, so that was from the 24th of June, and that total cost was $4,440.
Yeah, I remember that.
That is for a Water Right 1054 water softener, as well as a Water Right air draw carbon filter, miscellaneous plumbing, and labor for installation.
And the annual maintenance on it was,
The annual maintenance on it was a
$200
couple $100, that's correct.
Is that the only quote that we had?
Yes, it was the only quote that we had. So the one thing that you guys did talk about at that meeting is
Having
going,
another bid.
no, you
Single source.
chose to go with a single source vendor,
Single
but you
source.
wanted more information before you made the final vote, is what the minutes for that meeting reflected. So
So I.
Did we get more
So-
information?
it would be a total of not to exceed $5,440 for the entire project. It's to the point where we have searchers, attorneys, et cetera, who come in and use our bathroom and are commenting on almost every day. It's got to that point where the public notice it now.
So do you want to amend your motion?
Well, I'm not understanding something. What is the difference between what we know now and what we knew in June?
is the additional cost of, so the meeting in June, what was presented was just the actual system itself. It was not the necessary plumbing because Gary does not always do plumbing. He can, they're licensed to do so, but they don't, that's not their specialty. I tried contacting multiple different plumbers who all stated that they were either too busy or didn't end up showing up. And so Gary got wind of that and he came in and said, okay, I'll give you guys a quote.
Got it.
So,
So yes, I'll amend the motion to the total of not to exceed $5,440.
And I will second it.
for all of the work as bid.
For
The water
plumbing
softener.
And the water softener.
Any more
filtration
discussion?
and labor and maintenance.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And good luck with the stink.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so thank you both for sitting here this meeting. Next item on the agenda is the Stony Hill South Road repair process. And at the last meeting, we had this great presentation, and we asked for time to think about this and to give the public time to comment or give us some feedback. 2 people commented. Both people are in favor of this project. One resident would like to see updates to the community via the website, so I think maybe if we go through there, and want to know how long the work would take, how many large trucks will be hauling back and forth, and wants a letter sent to Mr. Belogor to advise all contractors of regular pedestrian and bicycle traffic that frequent this area of Weatherhead Hollow Road. The second resident was supportive of the road upgrades and was also supportive of the town throwing up that section of the road, which is not the question at hand. That's basically it. So those were the 2 comments that we had. We also wanted to know if you had reached out to Mr. Nestor, is that his name? You're the abutter, Rowan.
Right.
Yes.
No, I have not at the moment. I tried. I wasn't able to reach him.
So, let me think. So if we were to, so then Peter made some recommendations, which I will just review quickly. So if we are to approve the request, it would be, and we can give you these in writing, so.
Great.
But, and Peter, I'm just going to make 2 little edits to you.
That's fine.
So all improvements will comply with all current town road standards as specified in the highway ordinance and recently adopted road and bridge standards. 100% of all costs for the upgrades from Weatherhead Hollow Road to Mr. Belogor's driveway will be borne by Mr. Belogor. Am I saying that correctly?
Correct, yeah.
Belogor?
Absolutely, yeah.
Belogor.
Yeah, you're doing well.
Mr. Belogor will be responsible for obtaining all necessary state permits and paying the associated fees, copies of which will be sent to the town. After completion of all proposed upgrades, the town will not be responsible for road maintenance beyond the existing 211-foot section of existing Class 3 road. While upgrades will be to Class 3 standards, it will still be considered a Class 4 road not maintained by the town. And unless a letter is received in writing and a copy sent to the town from the abutting landowner granting such permission, Mr. Belogor or his contractors will not work outside of the town's right-of-way. So those would be the recommended conditions. So I don't know if other people have questions, comments?
Overall, public support has been for you guys.
Yeah, very much so.
And I believe that the contractor from Pathways has had that road surveyed as well. And I think that was shown in the plans that we provided to you, so we would use that as a baseline for the construction.
So,
And use as a baseline for knowing the right of way.
Yes.
so I am looking for a motion to authorize Paul Belogor to proceed with repairs to the section of Stony Hill South on Weatherhead Hollow Road. to the drive to his property at his expense with the conditions outlined, just outlined. Anybody want to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
And I will second it.
Any discussion? Any questions?
If we could just make sure that we get those conditions in
Yeah.
writing, just so
Yeah,
that
we'll send it to you
make sure
tomorrow. Yep, I'll send you a letter tomorrow.
That'd be great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You want
And it would be
Thank you.
lovely to follow up, Paul, if you
Yeah.
felt comfortable to make a time when at least some members of the public could take a stroll with you. I think it would be great.
I can definitely allocate the time, schedule with all of you. And
Sure.
take sound of you, all of you. Absolutely.
Great.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry, real quick, since you guys are probably going to want to leave, do you want me to put it in snail mail or attach it in an email is fine?
Email's fine.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
So I want to thank you for a well done presentation. It made our job so much easier.
No, that's
Yeah.
what our job is.
Really, it was really great to get that kind of information
Great.
at the last meeting, so thank you. And congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
We're like really excited
Yeah,
about what's
I definitely
happening.
wanted you to come and take a look.
Yeah.
People
We'll
are
keep you
psyched.
apprised of construction schedules and
Thank you.
anything else. We'll make sure we keep everybody in the loop.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
If
Thank
you've got
you.
any follow-up questions, obviously, you know how to get hold of us.
Yep, definitely.
Good night.
So the next thing on the agenda is CC4G update, and Dana Berry is here, and you are invited to bring a chair up.
Hello, Dana.
See you.
I have brought more paperwork for you. Aren't you glad? But they haven't given you the whole thing. You all know about, no, that's mine, I'm sorry. You all know about CC4G's quest to locate space during these last few years to develop an early childhood center for Guilford residents, families of very young children. And what it seems that the stars came together along about March when we realized from an outside source that what I call the Omega campus, but is really the Delta campus, has space that also has Guilford and Brattleboro, mostly Brattleboro land up there, but it also has, it borders Guilford. And they've taken over that whole area with the idea of building a campus community for workforce readiness, as well as developing services for its workers. And of course, we raised our hands and said, let's talk. So we started talking, and what has occurred from actually April to now is the board has met with Bob Johnson and his project managers, and we have developed a concept paper that was presented, which is what you just got a copy of. If you'll turn to the last page, you'll see the perspective that we've developed. This looks like it's going to happen. Now, we haven't had handshakes, but we haven't signed any papers yet. But what we've done is looked at their space. They had a school up there at one point, and we have.
They Delta? They Delta, or they Omega, or they?
It was prior to that. It was an Austin school. I
Oh, right there?
yeah, some kind of a school for children with.
Okay,
good.
Yeah, Inspire.
All right, good.
Inspire was
Yes.
up
And that currently is being used as their R&D, but they're looking to build a new R&D building and having us come in and take over. So if you'll look at the scope of work, the prospectus in front of you, I'll just catch you up that during July, we met with Brian Johnson, who came in to look at the building, and we needed to have that for public safety. And he's basically said, it's been a school, I don't see any problem. Let's just call me back when you get more information on square footage, and we'll talk, but as far as I'm concerned, we can work on this. Also in July, we worked with Megan Young, and this is all brand new to me, about water rights. But apparently Omega is also tied into Brattleboro Public Water, which is great for this project, as well as having its own well. So she apparently gives us the okay for a certain number of people to be on the campus. And by us bringing in a program that's going to bring in probably, 40 to 60 children to start with, she said she didn't think that there was going to be any problem with that, so we got that one checked off. I mean, we're very excited about this. And I am working, as soon as vacations get over, with a representative from the Community Loan Fund, because she is very good on helping projects like ours get a funding, not getting funding, but to find out what the real actual total cost will be per child for us to develop the program. We're also working with, I'm working with Thrive, which is going to be doing the needs assessment for us. CC4G did this a few years ago to see if there was need for an early childhood, and we had 75 respondents. I think that this will be included in the bigger scope that she will be doing through her company. And we are also working with Let's Grow Kids, which is a statewide funded group for early childhood education. And they're just great to work with. They're very supportive and can lead us into other funding bases. So I'm having a wonderful time developing this at this point.
Good.
A little nervous because, you know, again, it's a handshake. It's nothing there, and we have to really get the cost of care for our children. We'd like to run infant programs, waddler programs, which deal with that 12-month to 18-month age child to differentiate between toddlers, and have 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and then an after-school program, and it would be year-round. It will be open 10 hours a day, and it will be open during holidays and the summer when school is out, which will make parents really be able to have that kind of comprehensive care model. They're very interested in hooking up with the, is that a proper word in town meeting, hooking up?
Yeah.
Anyhow, they're interested in working with Precision and the dairy consortium up there, which has been sold, but the people that it's been sold to are very interested in this concept of combining family services to a workforce development program. So we're very, we're absolutely on target. My goal is by this Friday to have a preliminary budget as we have our weekly meetings with our project director that's assigned to us from there. And by the end of September to really know if what we've done so far is logistically possible from a cost of care perspective. Mm-hmm. The concept is to have them present and give us the building, reconfigure the building, and support the building. It will be open to Guilford children as well as the campus children as first choice, and then we'll open it up to the larger community. And I am just being met with encouragement and delight and a real optimistic feeling that this project is going to come to fruition. I wanted to inform you of this. We, CC4G, will get an article ready for the Gazette. When does that come out?
Is it, November will be the next.
Good, by then.
I mean, the deadline, I believe, is maybe October 1.
Okay.
And then it will come out before Thanksgiving.
All right, then we'll get our pegs in a row and get that submitted with the hope of maybe getting it open by this time next year or a year and a half. And some of that actually will depend on the funding as well as how quickly we can do the reconfiguration of the building. So that's where we're at, and I'm excited. And for the Planning Commission, we are available to work with you in any way, shape, or form since this was part of the 2015-2019.
Great.
Yeah. Any questions? I'd be delighted, but here we go.
Good presentation, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting.
Oh, very exciting,
really
finally.
is.
And Richard, you all at this table have helped. Well, I haven't met you yet.
Pretty new.
Hi.
Michael Becker.
I'll catch you later, probably.
Yeah, he'll help out.
So I'm done with that. Are there any questions?
Yeah, what's your maximum capacity?
I'm sorry?
What's your maximum capacity?
Well, we're going to, it depends. It's a hard question to answer right now, but we're thinking between 50 and 75. Interestingly enough, they have said to us, would you like us to build a new building for you? Or or do you want to take over this? And we have said, let's start slowly. I have learned, being relatively new, that we need to start slowly, but we see this as growing over time because the space is available, and having corporate support is going to make a big difference so that we can really develop a program that is a model that has that $15 an hour wage for our people, that has hopefully the medical insurance. So there's those kinds of conditions that we have to work out. And certainly the stipend and our parents can't pay the full cost of care. So we're going to have to figure out how to bring in that corporate body for that. But it's a very good model for it.
Does it have a playground at the moment? Or
There is space for a
Yeah,
playground.
is that something that would be needed right off the bat, or?
Not right off the, well, yes, we have to have a playground when we open it to get our license. But, yeah, are you interested in playgrounds?
I have young kids, so I know that's a key piece.
Key piece, yes. I think, yes, and I think a lot of the curriculum will be built on outdoor activities and our environment within our community.
And I know of a couple of funding sources that specifically fund playgrounds.
I'll just bet you do, I'm glad. See, I came to the right place.
So this actually started out in 2013 with the Vermont Council on Redevelopment, Rural Development, and it was one of the top 3 objectives that 150 people who participated in town developed. But this was for Guilford.
Yes.
And now it's
Good
Brattleboro, Guilford, and it is the kind of the godchild of corporations. So how is Guilford going to rank in this, and Guilford residents and Guilford board, the Guilford community going to, how are they going to treat Guilford as opposed to employees?
Certainly. Because I think what we're going to do, and we haven't gotten to governance, so we're all open, but I think what we're going to do is have a satellite from the corporation, so CC4G's board will actually run the program as a nonprofit, because that gets us into a larger funding base in some respects, but having an executive board be head of the corporate managers over here, that lets us get into a different funding. So we're trying to do the combination. Guilford children will have, I'm hoping, will have at least 1/3. I think they get first choice because we are the operators of the program. And then they would have the other people that are coming in, whatever the corporations do that kind of sign off the paper, they will come in, and then with the extra spaces, we will bring in children from the more of the Brattleboro community. So we're going to start out slow. So I think we'll be offering maybe 20, 25 slots to our Guilford kids, mostly probably infants, waddlers, and toddlers and 3s. Does that kind of give that thought? Okay.
No, I had the same question and concern. And so you'll be trying to spell that out more specifically.
It will be, yes. And when we get, probably at the end of September, when we get to a memorandum of understanding, we will kind of divvy that up. We're still trying to sort through the exact number of children. That it gets complicated because the younger children get more money from subsidized state than the older children, and we have to match it all together, and that's part of the fun of it. But also, it's a sell point for Guilford to say, look, we spent 4 years trying to find space in our community for this. We went to the school, we went to many different places, and it just didn't work out. And then this has opened up, and we're going to go forward if we can with this.
So there are some existing programs at the school at the moment, is that true?
Well, there is a 15-child, 4-year-old classroom for preschool for on a school schedule 6 hours a day that does not really address the issues of that this program will have a full year-round 10-hour a day for working families.
Would the program at the school be sort of absorbed into this new facility, or would that keep going?
I don't know how to answer that yet. Okay. I've thought of it. We haven't discussed it. I haven't discussed it in terms of this collaboration, but I have had discussions with the principal at the school, and he seems to very much want to have his preschool program continue.
And I'd like to also say, there's probably close to a 2-year waiting list for for the preschool.
Oh, yeah,
So-
people get pregnant and they're like, they
They
go
said
sign
they
up.
sign up before the
Yeah.
baby.
And so I think this is definitely it's definitely a need in this community, and it would be great to see it, it'd be great to see Guilford residents get some first choice, and also, just like you're saying, like there's a lot of disconnects between when school starts and when stops, and in these in-between times that I feel like parents do really need a lot of help, and this could really fill a gap for working parents.
I think Bob Johnson, who is the Omega CEO, is really, has had this vision for a very long time to have services on his campus for his employees and using an early childhood education program as the basis. And my experience in my lifetime of working was that there's always need for that kind of consortium to develop and to continue. So I think we're in good shape here.
So Dana, you say here that CC4G's mission is to develop an early childhood education center to serve young children living in Guilford.
Yes.
And that mission is still
That is still there.
the primary mission.
That is the primary mission. And there is a $1,500 grant that's coming in. We are still doing smaller projects. When we received the $150,000 Promise Community Grant that started in, I think it was 17, 18, 19, it went up until January of this year. That program enabled us to reach out to the early childhood community and offer gyms for the children. We had play groups, we had support groups for our moms. Those services will be wrapped into this program as part of the program. Whether there's going to be kind of a stopgap now until we get some more funding, we just don't know. Yeah.
Is Reagan working? Is Reagan still working?
She had just had her second baby, so she's very busy.
Yeah.
Yes. The nice thing I forgot to tell you, I'm sorry. Part of our mission is to have parents be advising us. So we have reached out, and Taylor Baldwin Franklin is on the board. And she is responsible for also reaching out to other mothers so that we can have a focus group and really hear what it is that they want to have. Because we're kind of working out here in left field. We think we know, but I certainly am not a parent of a young child anymore. And I wish I were a grandparent, but I'm not yet. So there you go. So we'll see.
Great.
Yep.
Great job, though, Dana.
Thank you.
Well, Taylor's been very eloquent about, her own frustration with the unavailability of reliable childcare, and she'll be
I think it's going to be an economic boom for Guilford and this part of our town here. And I think we're going to use this as a model for the state, that yes, this can happen with the cooperation of our local business community.
Well, Bob is doing a tremendous amount of investment. I heard that he just bought the Baptist church.
Yes, he did.
We have plans, if I'm being facetious, I won't go there.
Let's
get this up on the ground.
Thank you so much.
That's great news.
Moving right along. Gordon, do you want to do warrants?
Sure. So I will, okay, sorry. Make a motion to pay the following warrants. Payroll week ending 8/18/19 for $6,320.35. Payroll week ending 8/25/19 for $5,961.83. Expense warrant number 2004 for $25,839.93. And expense warrant FW04 for $40.50 for a grand total of $38,162.61. And on expense warrant 2004, the three major things that stood out to me were the payment of our Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, our commitment with the Broadbrook Community Grange on an annual basis, that new fee, and primarily sand that has been purchased by our highway department.
I move that we pay the warrants.
You mean you seconded?
Second.
So you had a question about the library summer program. On
Oh, right,
payroll.
on
And
payroll.
I think that, I mean, I just don't remember it being part of the budget, the library's
I forgot
budget.
about that.
So I think we need to have somebody look into that.
Thank you
And,
for remembering
I
that.
have a note.
Yeah,
Richard's
and then
on it.
either it comes out of the town's budget that was approved, or it gets reimbursed to us by the library from some other source of funding. So
So you'll let me know when you find out?
that
Yes.
will be an action for these warrants.
Okay.
Thank you.
Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Communications.
I have a couple of brief communications, and I think Miranda had one. First is that Rescue Inc. has invited current sitting select board members to their dinner and discussion of emergency services for your town on September 24th at 6 p.m. at the station in West Townsend.
Correct.
So if any of you wish to attend dinner and the talk, please let me know and I will RSVP for you.
And what was the date on that?
24th of September.
Yeah.
6 p.m.
I learned a lot when I went to that. I will say, it was an eye-opening meeting.
It's a good meeting. I will say just quickly two things. One, we've committed to a 3-year commitment to rescue, so we know the numbers. I don't think we're going to learn anything new. I do attend and am on the finance committee at Rescue. So we can have a rescue discussion some night or an update.
And you plan to attend?
I am doing my best to attend, yes, this came up last week. But I would open that to any select board member that would like to get a wider view of what rescue is all about and what they do
It
for our
is
town.
eye-opening.
It is eye-opening, and what they're doing, I mean, and I'm gonna say this just quickly, I hadn't thought about this, I didn't know this was on the communication agenda. But their reimbursement from the federal government is being hit as hard as everybody else, meaning the hospitals as well, with Medicare primarily, Medicaid, all the regulation that goes with it, the town, we're dealing with, state regulation on our roads now. So all these things are binding the ability for rescue to really perform their mission as succinctly as they can. So it has been eye-opening for me. We spend a lot of money with rescue. In my opinion, it's, going to a good place. And the money that is being spent at rescue is being spent very frugally. It's being spent on high-end, equipment and ambulances. They're not cheap, but I have been very impressed with what I've seen thus far. So, but if anyone would like to join me at this dinner,
What day of the week is that?
it's a Tuesday night, I think it was. Tuesday the 24th. So it's a Tuesday evening. It is in Townsend. Unfortunately, there is a lot of training going on in Brattleboro, so we can't have it at Brattleboro.
Fortunately, there is a lot of training going on in Brattleboro. That's a good thing.
We can't be there, that's all. But it's good, the training. So.
Thank you.
Anyway, sorry, Peter.
Nope, not a problem. The last but not least, VLCT has announced this year's town fair. For if any of you wish to attend, because we're members, one of you could attend on Wednesday for the annual meeting and the annual awards.
Wednesday, what date?
October, I'm sorry, I just blanked out on it. This 8th, sorry, yeah, oh, sorry, October 2nd. When? 2nd and 3rd. It is in Killington. Of the town staff, Penny and I are going. The primary focus this year is on cybersecurity, community engagement, and safeguarding employees. And I think that there's relevant topics based on numerous discussions we've been having over the past 6 months or so that I think would be good to learn about. So,
And when do we have to sign up to get the early bird special?
within the next 2 weeks. So
You might encourage Zon to go to this.
I will inquire with him to see if he is available.
Just you know, it's pretty interesting to, have you been to the town?
What did we go to? That was something.
We went to
No.
the introduction
Yeah.
to the select board thing.
That's
Now,
a-
this
you went
is
to the
town
select
fair,
board
is an
in summer.
annual thing put on by VLCT. They talk about their policies, and then they have themed meetings. And it's 2 days of meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is
But
their,
one day is really substantive.
this is the largest event that VLCT puts on every year.
It's
So
worth
a lot
it.
goes
Yeah.
into it.
I just don't have the vacation time
Yeah.
at the moment. Sounds interesting though.
Peter will report back.
I will.
Okay.
That's all I have for communications.
Okay, well, I have a communication. And so here is my communication. And let's see, I had some help with this communication from your sisters, from other select board members, especially Richard Wazansky, who helped me with some of the more literary parts of it. And so, as you might imagine, it's a poem.
Thank you.
Okay, so here we go. This does not have an audience participation part because I just can't handle audience participation right now, but it could in the future, okay? This is called Praise Song for Sheila Morse on rising from the chair of our select board. In the sudden chill before Labor Day, when fall is the writing on the wall, we bid farewell to Sheila Morse and ponder how we'll fare without her. Sheila, who brought the sturdy furniture where we deliberate from a ghost office of her past. Sheila, who is local as the squirrels Sylvia, her mother, used to stew. Sheila, the firstborn delegator of daughter chores, cook, can, pickle, freeze, vacuum, dust, iron, shovel, hoe. Sheila, who set her ducks in a row, landed in highbrow schools, pressed her luck across the pond, settled on a kibbutz, wrote airline safety protocol, advanced women's philanthropy, raised sons, resigned, returned, and nested with her man in these genial hills. I have an idea for your poems, said Sylvia to my phone. Say, giving and forgiving, time, intelligence, support, loyal to family and community. They work hard, don't hold on to mistakes, and there is always a welcome at their table. Now Sheila, still a newlywed, is off to roam with her squeeze in the snug RV. Sheila, who mentors, partners, pulls meaning from tedium, delivers links and findings, tracking tasks, she spreads the word in any medium, takes the brunt of resentment, listening. Praise Sheila, whose fortitude is silent, whose humor is vintage, whose kindness is covert, whose vision is driven by love.
Very nice. Well captured.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, I'm just gonna ask for a motion to adjourn. I don't have anything
I
else to
motion to
say.
adjourn.
I will second it.
Thank you, everybody, for making it the best thing I could have ever done, which is to serve this community. So,
Thank you for
And
serving.
thank you to
All
our
in
studio
favor?
audience.
Aye.